this the scariest children's movie ever made? Let's talk The Witches. Hey there guys, and welcome back to Dino Review. So today we are actually looking at one of my favourite movies growing up, The Witches. And The Witches is a 1990 dark fantasy comedy film directed by Nicolas Roeg and it stars Anjelica Huston. Now the movie of course is based on the 1983 book by Roald Dahl. The film follows a young boy called Luke who goes on holiday with his grandmother who's very sick at the time. Now what they don't know is at the same time there's a huge witch conference going on in the hotel they're staying in. So the witches meet for a conference under the guise of the Royal Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children, and their big kind of meeting is this big plan to talk about how to kill children off throughout England. So the Grand High Witch is there and she has this big kind of master plan where all the witches in England would open up their own sweet shops, and what they'll do is poison the chocolate they're selling. So it's kind of this potion that the Grand High Witch is promoting herself. Now what it does of course is it turns all the kids in the UK into mice. She wants to do this rather than killing the kids off. It'll be a quick way, she thinks, just to get rid of all the kids out of the UK and there'll be no witch hunt for it. The film uses kind of the moral of not to talk to strangers as their main plot point, and I think that works perfectly for a children's movie, especially a dark children's movie like this. When you're growing up, you're constantly told not to talk to strangers, not to take candies from strangers, and this is exactly what the witches are. They are these kind of terrifying people you hear about in your childhood. And for me, kind of watching it as a kid, and I think anybody else, that really hits home. You are told about these people consistently, and when you see them on screen, there is something very dark and creepy about them. Now soon Luke and another boy in the hotel kind of find out about the witch's master plan, and of course they get turned into mice. From there it's kind of up to them and Luke's grandmother Helga to take the witches down. I like that whole setup of the movie. I didn't even mind the whole mice scenario. What I love about the film though is the practical effects, the makeup and the puppeteering. The puppeteering for the mice actually looks quite well. It hasn't aged too much. Of course it is a movie that came out in the very early 90s, so you can see a lot of issues with it, but overall I don't really mind that. The makeup effects though at the same time and the practical effects look brilliant. The witches, when they kind of finally get revealed in that big conference room, they are downright terrifying. They're kind of everything you would think you'd have nightmares of as a kid. All of the witches, you know, they are not glamorous witches in this. They all take their wigs off. They've got these horrible nails, these horrible teeth. And during that kind of conference room scene, when the kids are in their room, you do kind of feel like they are very powerful and the kids really aren't going to make it out alive. And I thought as a kid, again, that's just a very terrifying concept. This is a children's movie. It definitely has a lot of laughs and it has a lot of comedy moments, but it also really goes all in with the dark moments. Now, of course, the star of the movie, I think in everybody's eyes, is Anjelica Huston as the Grand High Witch. She's this kind of glamorous, over-the-top character that really steals the entire film. She's by far the most powerful witch and she's also quite sinister. When she's on screen, though, she is quite captivating. You do realise the power that she has, especially over all the other witches. As well as that, when she comes face to face with children, she's exactly what you would think you would be scared of as a child. When her true form is finally revealed, you see how grotesque and absolutely disgusting she is. She has this huge long nose, these horrible gnarly nails, this bald head. Now they have makeup on her as well, which just makes it all the more weird and surreal. I absolutely love her character and I think by far she's one of the best villains in children's movies, but also in horror movies in general. The film of course has a lot of black humour in it, but also quite a lot of lighter tones. Rowan Atkinson in particular kind of provides a lot of the comedy in the movie, especially kind of the more gentle comedy compared to the Grand High Witch and the other characters. I thought his character was quite fun, how he kind of just came in and out throughout the movie just to lighten the tone, but at the same time there are quite a lot of dark moments. One of the scarier parts of the movie for me growing up was the story of a child getting stuck in a painting. Now the way the movie leaves it, they never actually tell you the child gets out of the painting, so it's quite dark and it's quite sinister. For me kind of growing up, that story in particular actually stuck me quite a lot just because there was no happy ending to it. As well as that, Roald Dahl's original book didn't have the ending we get in the movie. So in the movie, Luke actually gets turned back into a boy at the very end of the film, whereas in the original version, in the original novel, he doesn't. Now they had actually filmed that original ending for the film, but when they did a test screening, people weren't happy with it, so they completely changed the ending. Now Roald Dahl was not happy about that. He actually loved the original ending and the original film, and when they kind of changed his ending, he was quite bitter about it. Still, at the same time, this is regarded as one of the better adaptations of his works, and I think he does know that. There's a lot to love with this movie. As I said guys, the practical effects, the makeup, and just how sinister the witches actually are. How dark and unique this film is compared to other children movies really makes it stand out. It's a great one to watch as a kid, but also as an adult. A few things I never kind of picked up on when I was young was even the grandmother getting put into a coma, so she is diabetic, and the Grand High Witch actually puts her into a sugar coma. I did not realise any of that when I was young, and looking back on it today, when I kind of can think a little bit more about it, it just makes the movie even more dark and sinister. The characters in this one guys are all quite fun. The witches are dark and terrifying as they should be, and the movie actually goes at a really good pace. I did really enjoy this one guys. I pretty much watch this almost every year, not just around Halloween time. I think you can watch this movie anytime throughout the year. If you haven't already guys, I highly recommend checking this one out. They are remaking the movie at the moment, so it might be a good idea to check the older one out before we get that new release. If you haven't already guys, make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you are subscribed, pop on your notification bell just so you don't miss another video, and I will see you in the next one.